Welcome back. This is the Parent Life Show, and I'm Katrina Ball, your host, and we are talking about Let's Talk About Sex, specifically how parents can talk to their children about sex. Our guests are Inspector Mark Clark from the Bermuda Police Service, Anthony Davis from Digicel, and Janea Painter from the Family Center. And Janea, you know, we recently had an article in the Bermuda Parent magazine about sexting. What exactly is sexting? What does it look like?
So sexting is really when people send digital messages related to sexual acts. And it can take the form of pictures, it can take the form of sexually explicit messages, anything like that, yeah.
Anthony, what are some safeguards that parents can utilize when giving their children mobile phones?
I think first parents need to understand what they're actually giving their kids access to. Mobile device isn't nowadays just for making a phone call to find out where their kids are. Parents should also consider, are they going to put their kid on a prepaid device or postpaid device? You find that kids who are on postpaid devices know that in a sense they don't have a limit, so they can do as much as they want. While putting them on a prepaid device, you have a little bit more control. Parents should also consider what types of devices they're going to give their kids. You give your kid an iPhone or a Galaxy S3, you're exposing them to a whole world of apps that can take them to some unsafe places, but you're also giving them access to the entire internet right at their fingertips.
Palm of their hand.
Yeah.
Is there anything that Digicel specifically offers to parents to educate themselves about that, to realize just that you're handing them, the internet, so to speak?
Right. Well, we have all of our retail staff, we have our smartphone center. And so you can actually come and talk to people about, what exactly do you want to do with this device? When you're giving it to your kid, maybe this type of device for a 13-year-old isn't suitable. Your kid maybe 16 or 17, you may be looking to give them something that they can take abroad to college with them. They may be a little bit more mature. So I just think having the conversation with people who actually know the devices, that would be a great first step. And then after you decide what type of device you want, then we can talk to you about, maybe look at a prepaid plan and control the spend, or have the child have some level of accountability for the bill. When someone doesn't have accountability for how much they're spending, they tend to abuse that privilege.
If a parent already has given their child, let's say, a phone that has all, everything open to them, is there any way to lock off certain areas?
Well, yeah, there are. Some of our devices now have parental controls built right into the devices, and that shows that the manufacturers of these devices are aware of the need to safeguard the devices. And so just, once again, asking those questions about what types of parental controls are available on what devices, because you may think that a device that you want to get your child is suitable, but then you find that there's no level of parental controls that you can apply on the device. So some of our devices do have parental controls, some have great levels of parental controls. So when you get to the issue of sexting, some of our devices you can actually disable the camera, you can limit who the person actually text messages, and so you can limit the chances of sexting and taking pictures and sending pictures to people that you wouldn't want your kids to do that to.
Right. Inspector Clark, as for the topic of sexting, has much of that come through the juvenile unit, or has that not really gone to that level yet?
Absolutely yes, to that level. What we're talking about when we talk about sexually explicit images, we're talking about video, we're talking about material, also talking about language. That is an everyday occurrence. It's just a question of who is receiving it, who is being sent. Are we all responsible? Can we all be responsible sending something inappropriate? Well, we have the opportunity to. And if you do not do the things that Anthony has actually recommended, then those things can actually happen. We have come across, as well as been handed to us, as well as been sent to us, images of children taking pictures of themselves and sending it over the internet. Now, to put it in its context, that is the distribution of a sexually exploitive image of a child. What I don't think that they're taking into context is who is receiving it, what that person is doing with it, and what's the intent of it being asked for. You know, it's like the internet is almost like speaking to a stranger who's pretending to be a friend. You know, how many friends do we have that when they have something like that on us, what do they do with it? Do they delete it? Do you delete it? Do they tell you it has been deleted? Or do they then show it to somebody and say, look what I have? And those are the type of questions that has to be asked by the person who actually sends it. Because once you sent it, you no longer have control over it. So to go back to what the original question is, yes, we do. Yes, it happens quite often, more often than we would like for it to have. But you know what? We've made some laws that addresses and tries to mitigate and tries to minimize the amount of times that it occurs.
And in doing my research for this, I noticed that a couple states in the U.S., their child pornography laws are, I guess, so immense that it actually incorporates some of these young children that are doing this. And so they are actually being put on sexual offenders lists. Is that something that could potentially happen here because they are not realizing the ramifications of what they're doing?
Well, to put it in context, yes. England has it, the UK has it, Canada has it, and most countries in the world have it. It is one of those phenomenons that we wish would never happen, but it comes with the advances of the digital age. And we don't have control or enough controls to say it's a 15-year-old user, so you're not allowed to send that picture. You know, we don't have those type of controls. But what we do have is children who are just as malicious or just as vexatious as adults, meaning that, you know, the child might have sent it to another child or the equal peer-to-peer, but then they fall out of friends. And so they send it to everybody on their BB list. Or they've sent it or asked for it pretending to be a nice person, and then they send it out. And, you know, it's a form of sexual harassment, it's a form of bullying, it's a form of just out and out, you know, want of a better word, it's just bad behaviors. What can we do about it? Education. But to put it in its context, whilst everybody uses the term child pornography, is actually what you have to think about is it's a sexually exploitive image. It's a child image, and those we have to protect from themselves. And we as adults make bad decisions from time to time, and quite often we make them quite often. But we have to protect a child from a child,
So how
from
do
themselves.
we as parents assist our children to realize that these, you know, there are ramifications for you doing this that are beyond what you can think and see right now?
Education. Just like how you can go on the internet and say Facebook, you can actually go on Google and say educational tools. But also Bermuda actually has a website that right now we're redeveloping it, and it's called www.cybertips.bm. And that gives you the questions of you should know, what you should know as a parent, as a child, as a teenager, who you can report it to, and some of the questions that you want to ask. What's the appropriateness of it? And one of the things that we should say to our young people is that when they're doing stuff like that, they no longer have control of that image. How does that affect them? Well, it can affect them in their peer-to-peer group. It can affect them in their employment. It can affect them in university acceptance. It can have ramifications beyond that first person of the send button. And we should remind them of that and educate them to that. It's okay to say, well, I did it because I thought it was okay. But what's the ramifications? What's the long-range effects of that?
Right.
And if someone is, it might download, if a virus gets downloaded to your computer and it gets blasted out there, what's the impact on that?
Switching over slightly from the mobile devices and onto specifically the internet, we've seen the shows Dateline and the predators that are on there. Do our Bermuda parents need to educate our youngsters about that as well?
Most definite. I mean, the one thing that we should not have any parent using as excuse of, I didn't know. If it's a computer in their home, they should have full access to it. And they should set the restrictions, and they should set the tempo of how it's being used, when it's being used, who it's being used by. For instance, should it be used in the context of their bedroom, or should it be in a public space in the home? Should it have a password protection? And if it does, should the parents know? All those questions, I would say yes. Yes, it should be in a public space, so it can't be hidden, because we never know who they're actually speaking to. And on those shows, To Catch a Predator, it's always a child an adult pretending to be a child, but it's an adult who actually wants to actually be with that child. And they're pretending to be their peer group. They're either the same age, younger, or saying that they're an old person who likes young children. That's what we have to protect. Our children is our primary resource, and we have to protect them from themselves as well as from these predators. And the Dateline shows and those type of shows actually show the easy side of it. They do not show the real dark side to the internet and exploitation of children. Right. And we have to guard themselves from that.
We definitely had a great show and some really great points that have come out. Is there anything that you gentlemen would like to add before we wrap up?
I just feel like everyone, when you bring technology in, just should educate yourself about what you're given. So like Inspector Clark said, the parents shouldn't use the fact that they don't know how to use a computer as an excuse. If you've brought this tool into your house, you need to know what it can do, how you're going to be able to monitor it, and how you're going to make your kids safe while they use it.
Yeah. For me, I would say to you that education is the key. You may not always know as much as them, but you should be able to know as much as you can. Google it. Ask your internet provider. Research. And don't be afraid to say, I paid for it, I'm going to take it back. Education is the key.
Remind us of the website.
It's www.cybertips.bm. And the website is actually being rebuilt right now, but it should be launched within the next couple of weeks. And we've had it since 2008. And it came online when we brought in the Child Online Protection legislation. And so, yes.
Thank you, gentlemen, and Janaea for being our guest and sharing with us such great tips. Parents, I hope that you gained a lot of invaluable insight. And if you would like more information, as Inspector Clark said, visit the website. And Family Center also has workshops called Let's Talk About Sex, so feel free to contact them, 232-1116, correct, Janaea? Yeah. And again, we want to thank our guest. And we also want to say a big thank you to Southampton Princess for allowing us to film here. And if you have any family dining that you want to do, please feel free to drop into the Princess and join in one of their many restaurants that they have. And Fairmont Southampton are also proud sponsors of or partners of Family Center and their Beyond Rugby program. If you liked our video, please subscribe to our website, www.bermudaparentmagazine.com. And this is the Parent Life Show brought to you by Bermuda Parent Magazine.